Okay, I've just hit the stream button. Second time's the charm. Alright, you can see the stream, Razvan. I guess we'll just wait until we get everyone's confirmation that they can hear both of us.
Yeah,
hopefully,
that should be nice.
Yeah, hopefully it's not now you coming through and me not coming through.
That would be funny.
Alright, has the stream updated yet?
Yes, I think we're okay. I just heard myself on the live stream. So, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Can anyone?
Rob B is saying all good, so hopefully that's a good sign. For some reason I can't see a video on that one. Checking. Oh no, yeah, I can. Take that back.
Okay. So, for the second time today, hi everyone, and welcome to our first live AMA. I mean, well, second if the first attempt from today counts. I'm Razvan. I'm the community manager for Wonderman. We are here with the boss man, the master of Wonderman, Garth, and he is really happy to be joining us to answer all of your questions. I'm pretty sure that everyone knows about our Wonderman project, but for those who don't and who are not aware of what we are doing here, we're just going to paste some links into the chat so everyone can see.
Yeah, and we have some put some in the description as well, I think, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, so we still have half an hour to answer all of your questions. Maybe we can, add a couple of minutes.
Oh, yeah, let's do an hour. Like the half an hour mess up is our bad, so let's do an hour if you're good for that.
Okay, So coming back to the first questions, to the first question I had for you. So how soon do you think we should do another AMA? Because we don't have any updates, any major updates to share with the community. Obviously, we can do this every once a week, but most probably if we want to chat and have fun. But as speaking about the major updates, how soon should be the next AMA?
Yeah, I was saying that before, so I think maybe people missed out what you were saying because of like not being able to hear you. But yeah, I think like if I was saying to you before, like the sort of development cycle is like every 4 weeks there's stuff happening, but it's not usually enough to update. It's like you're kind of just closing off something or about to close off a task. Every couple of months I think is a great kind of period to do updates. And I was saying like now that we've got this working, so fingers crossed, like we don't have too many sort of audio issues later on. But yeah, once we've got this working now, I think we can run them every couple of months pretty safely. And I reckon probably if there's any kind of big releases or announcements or updates, we could do little bonus intermittent ones as well. Or if they're kind of like burning questions that keep on coming up and you think it's better to be addressed by me directly, then we could probably do them at special request as well. But yeah, I think every couple of months is a pretty good frequency.
Yeah, I agree, because most of the people probably are not aware of how to develop a project. But Garth is the best person who can tell us how much time does it takes to develop not only a game, but a project from scratch. So I can tell you, because we've been doing some tests and we got some time to chat about this. It takes a really long time, and a lot of involvement, a lot of sleepless nights, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
I can definitely attest to that. Yeah, my friends know me as the guy who doesn't always call them back in time because I'm usually working until 2 a.m. or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
we can give
But
some more of these development updates as we go. Yeah.
Yep. So, this being said, guys, if you have any questions, we also gathered some previous questions from you, but we would also like, to hear what concerns you might have on the live chat. So feel free to ask anything. We're here to address all of your concerns.
Or questions or whatever. And so, look, I mean, Raz, I guess one thing I could say is, like, we've got a list of AMA questions that you sent through that DK helped compile as well. But I wonder if it's good for me to actually start with the development update that I told you last time in terms of technology pipeline, because that's probably the stuff that people are like super keen to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So look, so jump into that sort of stuff. So, so starting with the main, we've got other questions which we'll get through, but the main development question in terms of the things that people always ask, like when launch, or when's this or when's that, right? So I'll give you a bit of a background on what development's been happening since Jan to here, and some of the tech stuff. So look, obviously one thing I'll bring up is quite a few people in the community will be aware of what happened with Phantasma, like as it happened like a week before our token launch. So that was like terrible timing. So Pavilion is has been really built around Phantasma chain because it's a really great chain for all of the advanced features that we've been doing. So like minting on demand and like the Pavilion covering the cost of transactions because transactions are so fast and cheap. Smart NFTs, all of that sort of stuff, right? So we had built the token, the Wonderman token and the Nectar token into Pavilion. So people had pledged money to buy the tokens through Pavilion, and we set it all up that it would be automatically unlocked. So that was all fully done and automated. And then when the hack happened on Phantasma chain, we had to lock all that sort of stuff off and then do the whole BSC thing and quickly put BSC claiming in there, and then that's kind of been this like manual process. We'll have to sort of reconcile all the accounts at the end, and when Phantasma chain's back online again, right? So we've had to rebuild a bunch of stuff in the meantime. So that's definitely been a bit of a setback. And maybe one thing I'll say is, for those who aren't aware, it's not like we just kind of got Pavilion working with Phantasma chain like the week before Wonderman. Like we had that working for like 2.5 years. So there was like 2.5 years of like development and progress put into that platform and that technology pipeline. So like it was a bit of a shock and a bit of a terrible timing for that, right? So there's been a bit of rework there. The other main thing I'll mention is, so we've got, everyone will be familiar with our team from the pitch deck, so all the leads that you've seen, all the crew. So these are all crew that I've been working with for in sort of some examples like 20 odd years, like 24 years in the most extreme case. So these are all people that I've known for a long time, and these are all like the art directors, design directors, leads, tech directors, all that sort of stuff. So when it came to choosing the technology stack, so we had basically, there's two options. And I mentioned there's like Unity is one that everyone would know. There's another sort of lesser known one outside of the industry, and that's called Phaser. So we were really debating between those two technology stacks before we started the development for Wonderman Nation. I've got a guy who I've been friends with and developer partners with for a long time. He co-founded the first game company that I started at back in 1998. We've done a bunch of projects together. I was his creative director and art director for a company starting back in like 2010, 2011. We co-founded, well, he sort of mostly co-founded, and I came in as a shareholder to that company. And we released a game, and they do a lot of web stuff. So this guy's got history at Disney. He was the head of online for Disney in Australia. And anyway, so we've worked together for years delivering projects. So I spoke to him about it because he's been doing this stuff for a long time. Phil I'll mention his name. That's Phil Mason, so he's a good friend of mine. So I spoke to him about it, and he said, "Well, look, mate, like we're actually got some bandwidth to help out with this sort of stuff, and would love to help out with this. So, do you want us to come on board? And yes, out of these options, we recommend Phaser." So that's what we did. So we were developing with the Gertie team as the leads, and Phil's BGI Bubblegum Interactive team as the game, like the front end developer. So we're doing all the tech stack, or the back end, or the creature pipeline, breeding, etc. And they were doing the front end development with our leadership and our guidance. And it got about sort of to about July, I'd say to about May, June, and they were doing a good job, and it was all kind of going well, but it just wasn't happening, let's say, like at the speed that we would like it to happen, using the sort of technology and tools that we would want to use. And a part of that reason is because Unity, everyone would know, is really good for like tools and features. It's a really feature-packed engine, but it's not so good for web stuff. So the whole WebGL library is actually technically not supported. So the whole mobile interface for Unity is not so great. With Phaser, it's the opposite. So their mobile experience across all platforms and browsers is really good, which is what we wanted to do, but their toolset isn't as powerful. So it came to around July, and us and the BGI team decided that we wanted to change tack and use Unity instead, so that we get the power of the tools and the features in Unity. At which point we went with the Bubblegum Interactive team and Phil's team for their Phaser experience, because our team didn't have so much experience with Phaser. But yeah, when we decided to switch to Unity, our team have a lot of experience with Unity, so we're like, well, that's good, but if we switch to Unity, then we're bringing this completely in-house, because because the other thing is, like, when you work with an external team, obviously you've got that sort of like management sort of tier of communication. So we're giving direction to all their managers and associate producers, and that's going down the chain, and then issues are coming back up through their chain, through their producers, and back up to us, and just that sort of like pipeline of communication was too slow, and we really want to direct access to their developers, so we can drive them directly as a part of like our team, like more of an internal team. But that didn't work with their structure, with the projects that they have going on. So we said, look, guys, like, thank you, but we're going to bring this completely in-house and just do it in Unity from here on. So essentially, we restarted the project. They finished their last build in July, and we started our build. We sort of had a bit of crossover there. So we've essentially gotten, how many months in July, August, September, October, November? So we've gotten, essentially in 5 months, we've gotten to beyond where they got to in 6 months using Unity. So it's not sort of bagging on them, it's just the different tool set, different engine features. So essentially we've kind of caught up and gotten beyond where they got to in that time, because of our team's experience with Unity. But that has delayed the delivery of the project. I'm sorry to say, but we're still kind of on track to deliver a great project in a good amount of time, but that's definitely set us back a few months. And it also set back the creature NFT release because of the Pavilion stuff and the Phantasma Chain stuff, right? So we couldn't just release NFT creatures and have them all accessible and playable using our Pavilion platform with all of that stuff we had built in. We've had to rebuild that. I guess I can mention which chain we're using as well. So what we're doing now is instead of having Pavilion just sort of tightly integrated explicitly with Phantasma Chain, we're kind of decoupling that so that Pavilion is just a platform that does stuff and can interact with multiple chains. So the other chain we're plugging in for Wonderman Nation is Binance Smart Chain. So we're going to be doing the creature release. Phantasma Chains, this is kind of news for them, but Phantasma Chain is getting close to re-releasing the chain and putting it all back live in a sort of stepped, careful fashion. But we want to just have multiple chains being used anyway, because that is the future of blockchain, is to have sort of not being tied to one database essentially, but being able to use multiple solutions. So that's what we're going to do. So that's what we're working towards now. So that's the big core development update. I guess maybe I'll lead with the next thing. Right? Sorry, I'm just like talking a lot and you haven't had the chance yet. But the next thing I might mention, just because it all ties in, is our next major release is the creature sale and the creature breeding. So I'll kind of end this little section here with like some really good news, which is our creature breeding is done, and it's really, 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 really like cool, like really bloody cool. I've got to say, like we've had a lot of challenges to get it to work. If you understand like game art and game design, like the whole getting all of these different parts of creatures to all kind of, sort of interbreed with each other and then animate with each other to look correct and then be in the right spots and be all proportional, is one challenge. And then the second challenge is how do you design for that? So maybe we'll leave the depth of this for another conversation, but like the essential, the kind of like touch point on there is what happens if you breed like this creature and that creature, and that creature, what attributes does it get? Do you end up with a creature that's way overpowered? How do you sort of deal with the base level stats? How do you deal with the special attacks and the special items? So we've come up with some really, really cool solutions to balance the stats between them so that they have different advantages and disadvantages, and it's kind of comes back to the game balance stuff. So we'll dive into that some more later, but the point is we've solved that and we're getting ready for our creature NFT sale, which will enable people when that launches to bring the creature straight in and start breeding them and seeing the awesome results. So I'm looking forward to sharing that stuff with everyone.
Thanks, Garth. And thank you for sharing this with us. I mean, I already knew, of course, but I think that's a great example for the community because, as you can see, we've had a little bit of setbacks, meaning, the Phantasma chain got hacked, and we also had to change the development team because things weren't moving the way we were. And I just want to congratulate the team for not giving up, because at this point, as you all may know, some project just disappears, which is something that it's admirable for Garth and for the core team, because they didn't give up and they took everything from scratch and built it again. So kudos for you, Garth, and
thanks.
For all of the team.
Yeah, look, one thing I'll say, like anyone who's familiar with game development, this is game development. Like I probably should mention, like I worked on the first Far Cry, and not many people would know, but that game got scrapped after about, what was it, like a year and a half? Not including sort of online work, but they kind of were online for about a year. I didn't work on that part of the team, but when they became a studio, I was like artist number 4 hired. We worked for about a year and a half, and then we scrapped all that and started again. Then we made the new Far Cry with what we learned on the first iteration. We made it again from scratch, right? So everyone knows what happened with Far Cry since then, but the point was we scrapped that. And I was working on another, like the sort of famous PlayStation 2 Transformers game, and that was a similar thing. Like that, about a year and a half of dev got scrapped, and they started again. Like with those learnings, they started again. So I think like it's a very integral part of good game development is if you're doing something and it's not working, you don't just continue and just put it out as a bad product. You take that learning and then you go like check the boxes of what worked. Actually, same thing with Half-Life. Half-Life did the same thing. They built the whole game actually, scrapped it, took like the 10% of good out of it, and then rebuilt the game with that, right? So yeah, good design is taking the parts that are working, and if things aren't working, you get rid of them and you continue with a different pipeline. So that's just development.
Yeah, thanks. Regarding the creatures, because you were just telling us that this is almost ready to release. I have a question. Someone asked if Wonderman Nation will continue to release new unique creatures each month.
Mm-hmm.
Will you? Will we?
Good question. In terms of each month, I mean, I'll break that into 2 parts. Will Wonderman release new creatures? Yes. Each month, I can't say exactly how frequently would release new creatures. Again, it ties into we haven't talked much about the crossplay between the different titles. So it comes back down to the crossplay between the titles is one thing, and then like what's good for development and marketing for the second thing. So look, my gut feeling is that probably would release new creatures every they kind of come down on a planet. So creatures are based on planets. So we're releasing new planets in the metaverse game probably every few months. I think every 2 to 3 months. I think monthly is a bit too frequent. I'd say I'd guess. Don't hold me to this, but I'm guessing every 2 to 3 months would be the release schedule for those.
Yeah, thanks. What about the cross-path platforms? Because we already have a chat about this, but what can you share with the community about the difference between playing the game on Steam versus playing on mobile web?
Yeah, we had chatted about this when we did our testing, which worked as opposed to this personal niche, didn't we? So going back to the Phaser thing, the Phaser Unity thing. So the good thing about Phaser is if you get it working on Phaser, you get this great cross-platform, seamless. It's going to be quite a beautiful experience. Once it's done, it's quite a good experience, but harder and slower to develop with, and not as powerful in some other way. So now that with Unity, it's going to change things a little bit. So that's still to kind of be decided. So we'll probably release as a downloadable, installable app first, just to kind of keep our release pipeline pretty smooth as we kind of do beta and kind of get new features in and get things locked down. And then from there, we'll do some WebGL builds, and then we've got a really proficient team with graphics and shaders. So if WebGL is not doing some stuff as fast as we want, then we might support certain browsers and sort of try to get some optimizations in. And we may, just putting it out there, we may even sort of, once we've developed in Unity, we may even go back and develop a Phaser version as a second thing, which comes as like a phase 2 of development, where we take that development and sort of recreate it. It's going to be a stepped release for sure. I can't guarantee the exact solution until we get to that point, though.
Thank you.
By the way, I tend to give long answers just because there are so many parts that interplay with each other. So
no worries. I'm sure that people are very very happy to hear that answers, because most of them most of the people tend to give short answers, and probably there are following questions after that. Should we take some answers, some questions from the chat?
Absolutely.
Mattia is asking us, when can we expect the first beta to go live?
Good question. I think what I'd say is we internally were kind of thinking and hoping that we'd be able to get the closed beta live. Look, actually, no, I'm going to go back a little bit and say when we first did our schedule for Wonderman Nation, we had a 12-month window, and internally our actual sort of schedule was around 7 to 8 months. That's for us, because we've developed a lot of similar stuff. So that wasn't an optimistic. Like an optimistic would be sort of 5 to 6 months. So us, 7 to 8 months was pretty realistic. So being that we sort of lost 6 months, we thought, okay, well, maybe if we push really hard, push for the optimistic, we might even be able to get it done at the same time. But anyway, we've built some cool features, which I'll share with people in a different call, which has kind of made things a bit slower, but for a long-term gain. So that's the kind of long answer. The short answer is I don't know exactly. I guess, again, we'll kind of do a stage thing where we do our creature sale and we'll open up the creature breeding, so people will interact with a part of the game pretty soon. We're going to be working with some other partners to market and promote and launch that, across a few different platforms to get the biggest announcement and biggest awareness that we can. So it depends on them. I can't guarantee what their schedules are like. Again, long answer, but I'm hoping kind of early-ish next year. To say January might be a bit short because everyone gets back from Christmas and things just, everything kind of drags out. Everyone gets back into work. So I'm kind of aiming for February for that. So that'd be the first kind of beta, you could call it, because you'd be playing with the breeding. And then ideally not too long after that we'll have the gameplay. We'd be aiming to have a beta gameplay available for people within 1 to 2 months after that.
Okay, thanks. Let's see. Would there be more open investments coming into the Wonderman project?
Sorry, what do you mean by open investments? From whom?
The crypto pharmacist asked us. I'm probably thinking about something else between instead of staking, of borrowing creatures, probably this kind of open investments. feel free to tell us more about your question, the crypto pharmacist token.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, there's about like a 20-second or so, 15-second delay between us saying it and them seeing us saying it, so it might take a little while for them to catch it. In terms of, I can just start saying some stuff about open investments. So in terms of private investors, we aren't pursuing any extra private investment at this point. In terms of public opportunities, the Wonderman creature sale is the first. I'm seeing the Jackson. I was saying it correct. You'll launch breeding with a big partner. Is it the same person? No. Okay. So the buying creatures will be the first thing for the public, and then breeding creatures. So that'll be the next kind of ecosystem update, I would say. So if there's more to that question, then they can. If I haven't answered it, they can sort of re-ask it.
Okay. So. Crypto positive asked Tassar, will you stay in the Phantasma chain? This question already been addressed. We are probably adding the PNB chain, and I'm not sure if we are planning to add something else, but who knows in the future.
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on what Phantasma chain do as well. So we definitely are still working with Phantasma chain. So it's not like they had a hack and now we're going to run away. People get hacked. What Solana's been hacked a dozen times or something. It happens, right? Not their fault. So yeah, it comes back down to what features they have and when they go live. Ideally, what we want to do. Again, I'll speak to the Pavilion side a bit. So what we want to do is have Pavilion just be like a central entity, and then we connect with Phantasma Chain, we connect with Binance Smart Chain, we connect with others, right? People can send their assets into Pavilion to be accessed by the game, and then ideally we're able to facilitate swaps between chains as well. Phantasma Chain are working on those swaps at the moment, but the token swaps was the avenue that they got hacked last time. So understandably, they're being very careful with the swap. So it wasn't their chain necessarily; it was the swap part that got hacked. So, yeah. So it depends.
Yeah, unfortunately, this happens. So we're sorry. We didn't plan this to happen, but yeah. Thank you, Rob. Rob is thanking us for the update and for the transparency. He also asked what's the current status, but I think we just, we started with the current status. So do you have anything else to add to this question?
Current status? Yeah, if they kind of want the daily progress update. So as I mentioned, we've been working on. I'll kind of give on the last couple of months as a timeline. So as we've been finalizing the creature breeding, the way the creatures breed physically, where the bones are, how they animate, all that sort of stuff, and how all the stats all kind of line up. As we've been doing that, we've been working on the battle, Wonderman Nation battle, we call it. We've gotten that to a good point, and then we've got the creatures ready. So now we're working on the front end for the creature breeder. So that's the current thing that we're doing right now. At the same time as working on Pavilion and the whole BSC integration, so basically kind of tying all those things together. So that's the current status. That's what we're working on.
Okay, thanks. Let's see what else. What advantages Wonderman Nation is taking from Phantasma Smart NFT tech? He doesn't have a name. He's just A asked us this. So
we're kind of now that we're kind of doing the BSC stuff. Typically before with 23 Racing Series, we're just doing Phantasma Chain, so we could take sort of more initiative from the smart NFT features. Now that we're kind of being the center point and we want to allow swapping, I can't say how many smart NFT features we'll have. It's one of those things where it's if people went to school, they would probably know this. The class only goes as fast as the slowest pupil. So if BSC only does some stuff and that's not supported, and they don't support stuff that Phantasma Chain does, then we can't as easily kind of enable swapping. So I think that answers the
Okay.
question. Yeah, I think that answers it.
A is asking something else about 22 Racing. So is Wonderman Nation taking focus from 22 Racing? And what is the future of 22 Racing?
Okay, that's a cool question.
Blockchain game version.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'd say is like 23 Racing Series has been in development for quite a while, and we've got like a separate team working on the programming stuff for that. So, for 22 Racing Series, there's not much. I still lead that team, but there's not much for me to do day to day on 22 Racing Series because kind of my work is done for now. So no, it's not really taking any focus away. So we've got like, yeah, people want the update there as well. So the main things we're working on there is the track builder, which people have probably seen if you've seen the videos. It's a really, like, I don't know, is it the best track builder in the world? Probably. I don't know. I can't say that for sure, but it's amazing. Like, it's really, really, really good. So we've had a programmer who's just working on that. He just tells me how he's going, and I just go like, "Yay, keep on going!" Like, it's so good. So that's not taking too much focus away. And then we've got another programmer who's working on the multiplayer stuff. So again, like, I don't need to direct that. I'm just like, "Yep, like that's great. Like, keep on going." Occasionally, I jump in. Like the only time for me is I jump in occasionally and do tests. I play with the track builder. I'm like, "Yep, like that's great. Here's the thing you might want to look at, or here's a bug I found." Or play same with the multiplayer, but like, yeah, it's kind of like hours in my week compared to Wonderman Nation. So Wonderman Nation is like, yeah, if you consider like what's in 22 versus Wonderman, like from a design creative point of view, it takes up a lot of my time. Wonderman.
Yep. Thanks. Crypto Positive asked us, will we launch breeding with a big partner?
Oh yeah, sorry. So what I was saying there was, I'll go back a little bit. So when we're doing the private token raise, we spoke to a whole lot of different partners, and I probably won't mention who's showed interest, but if you know our cap table, then you'll have a fair idea. But there are others as well who didn't come in on the round, but have their own marketplaces, and they're very keen to have us launching our NFT creatures on their marketplaces. So yeah, I won't mention the sort of list that we have in mind because we'll sort of see where everyone's at in Jan. But we're kind of thinking to launch on 3 to 4 different marketplaces. Kind of like how we did, say, with the public round for the token, right? So we launched on a few different launch pads. So same thing with marketplaces. Nice. And again, the idea being, I think we had, oh gosh, what was the number in the end? Something like 25,000 public sale participants in Wonderman Nation, which is just great for the whole community. So yeah, it will be a similar thing for the creature NFT sale.
Okay, nice. Okay, Mattia told us that would be cool if we can share the progress regularly, like on Medium, about the updates and what are we doing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But we're probably going to stick to those live AMAs, these live AMAs for now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe someone could, also add some documents on Medium about the development stages, but I'm not sure that this is really interesting. I mean, this live AMA is way better than reading some developing stuff on the Medium, but probably he's a data guy.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, I guess this person is, or he, she, I guess what they're probably saying is like just more frequent updates. Yes, strangely, surprisingly, doing these live AMAs are less work than doing a Medium post, because I don't have to sort of write up content and then grab pictures and put in pictures, and then get my copy editor to go over it and then get the marketing team to approve it and put it in the pipeline. We can just run these like live. So I mean, hopefully everyone agrees and they prefer like a live AMA. I guess one thing I'll say too is I brought this up in the Discord and Telegram channels a little while ago about sort of doing I can't remember exactly how I phrase it, but like doing like a game development 101 kind of thing where I screen share and show people a bit of stuff, because like it's funny because like you could, like if people wanted to just sort of like let's say like well, no, I don't want to use the wrong words here. Let's say if people want to like sort of be the show but not the substance, it's really easy to jump into Unity and drop some characters in and drop some things in and make it look really impressive like really quickly. It's not much work. Like you might have seen like hackathons where you spend a weekend and you do something that has a semblance of a game in a weekend, right? It's not hard to sort of smash that stuff together, but it's not an actual game. It's just like a little movie with button presses kind of thing, right? So I'll give a quick example here just for people to have context. So we've developed a whole environment system where we've got, like, it's a way for designers to be able to not even go into Unity. They can just basically go into a spreadsheet, load in the background. The images are saved elsewhere, but essentially load in the background image, set their grid for the background. They put them in cells. They put the grid numbers in the cells, and then they can use other lists to define like numbers in those cells on different sheets to define where different prop cover items are going to appear and where different dynamic props are going to appear, and then just visual props are going to appear. And so a designer can go in there and sort of build levels in an Excel spreadsheet, and then the back end can read that data, and then the back end, it's all kind of getting a bit nerdy here, I guess, but the back end knows what each cell is, so that way when the game client knows what those cells are, so it knows how to render it. So then when two people play against each other, the game client says, well, this user hit this item, and this, like, say the boulder is an example, and this boulder kind of rolls across the map. And then the back-end server, because we need to worry about people hacking the game and doing things that they telling the client that they've done something which the game client can't actually do, right? So we actually have the back-end server verify that it knows which item was where and what it can and can't do, and then it tells the game client, like, yes, that is correct and that is what happened and that is true, therefore here's the outcome, etc. So we built that to be like a really clever user, like a designer user interface. So there's all that kind of stuff that you build in the back end that's not very sexy, like and it's not fast. It's not like it's sort of you can just whack it out in a weekend, but it's really sort of future proofing, like fast iterative design for designers, a clever back end that is true. Because we have to think about as well, like especially being like any people like hack and cheat in games anyway, let alone when there's cryptocurrencies and NFTs involved. Like, you can just imagine the kind of inundation you're going to get. So we're sort of future-proofing everything from like day one to make sure that people can't hack the game client to get an outcome that's not actually correct, right? So anyway, so that's the long version of like what I like to do. But like in terms of development updates, it's much easier to sort of talk about that and explain that. And if I can do an AMA, or like not really an AMA, like a Game Design 101 sometime, where I can do some screen shares to show some people that. Like, I don't want to give everything away because this is kind of the Wonderman IP as well. Like, we don't want to go out there and have all our competitors just going, well, fuck, let's steal that. Sorry, everyone's just going, let's steal that idea. But, there's some stuff I can show to kind of give everyone an idea of, we're not just doing this the simple front end way. We're actually building the smart back end user designer interface as well.
Thanks, Garth. Well, basically, we cannot share all of the details for your privacy and for your security. So,
but we will share some. Like, I don't want to be too black box so that everyone thinks that we're just sort of pretending, and it's like black box. It's like we might not have anything. So, we'll share enough so people can see we have something without sharing too much that it can be stolen.
Of course, yeah. Let's go back, because I saw a question from the crypto pharmacist. He asked us, is there are any hopes to reviving the Wonderman Ambassador program?
Yes, there are. I would say that with like the crypto industry being in the state that it's in, we have to like manage liquidity as well, and like obviously the ambassador program costs the project money. So I think the best timing for us would be at around game launch. I think it would make a lot of sense for us to kind of do a bit more of an ambassador marketing push and get that going around then.
That's good, yeah. Thanks. Do you think Wonderman Nation will be a success considering we are in a bear market?
Look, I guess it's funny because we always go back, even before the bear market. One thing that we were saying is, as there are kind of two kinds of developers, right? There's historically, or with present day in mind, there's like game developers who are always there to make a fun game, a game that you play because you want to play it because it's fun, like full stop. And then there are people who came along who made play to earn games, which people play because they can earn, like full stop. And so that sort of hybrid now, which people are working on, is that the combination of the both, where you play it for fun anyway. So it's always been our focus since day one that the earning isn't our focus, it's the fun that's our focus, and the play to earn is the additive there that gives people more incentive or just new ways to play. So ideally, regardless of the market, people play games in actually, like in recessions. This is a really good point. If people look it up, during recessions, gaming represents a really great value entertainment. Like, it's cheaper to play a game than it is to go to the movies and buy popcorn, right? You get thousands of hours of entertainment out of a game, especially with a free game, right? So the fact that we're going to do a fun game, it's going to be free to play, and there's going to be earning potential in there as well if you play well. We think it's a great product to survive not just a bear market but a recession as well.
So basically, yes, we will survive, and you pay for your internet, which is the main thing that keeps you, so you can play the game anywhere if you have internet.
Mm-hmm. I like how I give like this really long answer with a complicated answer, and then you just like make it reword it, make it really concise. It's like both versions.
Yeah. Okay, so so I can see that the crypto pharmacist asked again about the ambassador program. So I'm sorry for missing your question from the first time. Are there any new features being developed in Wonderman Nation, such as breeding, battling, etc., that yet to be announced?
Good question. In terms of being announced, like I did a lot of AMAs in the lead up to the token launch, and I think I said just about everything, and mostly it's all stayed the same. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like one thing I'll say is there has been a lot of, like, previously it was mostly just like me running the story. Like, Wonderman Nation's an IP I've had in mind for a while, so like it was all kind of in my head, and I've been sort of onboarding the team so that it's all in their heads as well. And so now we're all kind of like have like wacky senses of humor, so they're often flipping like ideas in. So it's kind of grown. I'll have to, but not so much in features, more so in just style of content.
Okay. Beast asked us what sets Wonderman Nation apart from other games. For example, obviously Axie Infinity.
Sorry, what? Axie what? Never heard of it.
It's the other game. So what sets Wonderman Nation apart from other games? Let's say that.
Yeah. I mean, from other games, it's a big broad question. I think you always want to be careful not to say anything negative about other games, right? In terms of let's say in terms of the play to earn category generally, I think most people would agree that it's kind of been a lot of games that focus on the earn, like we said before, and less so about the fun. So that's that. So like, what sets it apart from the current play to earn market is that it's a real game built with real gameplay first and foremost, and we are aiming for it to be fun to play. So that's like, we won't be happy unless it's fun, or like until it's fun to play. So we'll keep on fixing it and revising it and changing it until we get that fun factor and make it perfect. Also, in terms of the earn stuff, I think it's kind of, again, it's sort of important to go back and realize that Goatee Entertainment, our company, and Goatee Outsourcing was set up back in 2010 with the sole purpose of kind of creating what we saw at the time as being this future vision of people playing games online and using digital currencies to compete and play. So it's not like we as traditional game developers are kind of new to this earn thing and we're just going to like slap some tokenomics in at the last second. Like, we've been thinking about this sort of economics for games for over a decade. So like fun games, solid economics. I don't know. Is that enough of an answer?
Yeah. Thank you. And also, Beast asked if we will run on Phantasma only or other blockchains. I'm guessing that he joined after we answered that question. Yeah, we are going to be also on BNB chain. And, we're open to anything else probably in the future.
Yeah, look, precisely. That's exactly the thing. Like, again, with a new sort of development focus for Pavilion, the idea is that we make it so that everything can sort of like be plugged into the base much easier.
Yep. I also gather some questions, and while we are still here, I wanted to ask you about the scholarship programs. Are we going to have a program for scholarships?
In terms of like guilds and creatures and things like that?
Yeah.
No, that's not really the plan. I mean, so one thing I'll say is the whole scholarship guild system with Axie Infinity and things like that it was basically a bug, essentially. Like there was I would say it was like a lack in design, or a limitation is probably the best word for it, a limitation in design. And it was a bug in their user account system that you could run scholarships and guilds that way. Like it wasn't intended that way, but that's how it got used. But essentially, we're getting around that with our what I think is a better design with the creature pool or live creature marketplace, where people can buy creatures, and if they're not using them, they can put them into this creature pool for other people to just jump in, and then as they start a match, they can use their own creatures and or use creatures from this creature pool. So you don't have to get a scholarship or be a part of a guild to get access to those. They're just there for everybody to use.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe I'll quickly add on to that, like the whole idea about reward sharing as well, right? So yeah, it's built into the system that if you play with someone else's creature and you win a reward, then that reward is split between you and the creature owner. So it's all built in.
Okay, that's good. Let's take just one more question. We talked about this, and people are curious, is it possible to compete with a team on Wonderman Nation?
Good question. We've discussed it. We don't have it directly in our design. If people are interested in some of the background to what we've been doing, right? So I'll give you an example on this particular question, right? So the first thing is it 3v3, 4v4, 5v5? That's one of the questions that we're still kind of asking ourselves and we'll be answering internally. Like we've got to test it and play, because sometimes you don't know what's good until you try it, right? There's when you're talking about like PvP battles, there's other things like do we design, so we're actually going to design all three of these and figure out which one's the best, right? So there's the thing around, does one team take a turn? So one player chooses the turns for all three of its players, and then the next team chooses the turns for all three of its players. So that's A. Do you B, have one player, player one choose creature one, and then player two creature one, and so that's basically like one creature at a time? Or do you have both players choose all of their turns for all of their creatures at the same time, and then you hit the button and then that plays out and you don't get to make decisions on the fly, right? So we're actually going to build all three of those is the point. Like we won't build each of them to eternity, but we build all three and test them and then play internally, and then we review and refine and revise, and then until we figure out which is the best one, and then we sort of throw the others away and continue with that one, right? So again, long story short, there's a bit of decision around that. In amongst that, we will look at teams as well to see if teams work. I don't think we'll try that in phase 1 though. I reckon that's more of a phase 2 thing.
Yeah, trial and error. So okay, let's see.
I really hope people appreciate my long answers. I mean, it shows we've been thinking about this a lot, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's great that you shared so much with the community. So it shouldn't be a problem for them to hearing updates. Are there an infinite number of creatures, of creature combinations, maybe?
Okay, well, in terms of infinite number of creatures, I guess there's like three things that could be infinite, or you could question the infinity. So one would be just like the number that we release. That will be, so the number that we release will be limited for sure. The next thing would be like how they breed. Like, do you limit how many can be bred per creature or total? There will be a limit on how many creatures can be bred from a single creature, so there will be limitations there. And then the next one would be like, do we keep on releasing new creatures to infinity? And then to that is maybe, but to be decided. Like, I think it's cool if we can bring new creatures in through releasing new worlds in the metaverse game play, and we'll keep on doing that. If it keeps on being fun and it keeps on adding new interesting flavor, we'll keep on doing that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's. So A asked us something about the next AMA, but for the 22 Racing Series. Do you have some things prepared for the 22 Racing Series in terms of another EMA?
I kind of haven't, but I mean, I'm happy to roll them into this one if people are interested in both. I think it kind of makes sense because in a lot of ways they share a lot of the technology, and yeah, it's the same team making both. So I mean, I guess like if there's a specific, I'm just looking at the chat over here. If there's a specific question around 22, then I can answer it right now. Okay, but all I'll say is we just launched on Steam, so I guess we can talk about that. That actually applies to Wonderman as well. So this is the kind of interesting thing. So again, I need to be careful what I say. We had a launch date for 22 Racing Series, which had been on Steam for a long time, and that's really important because Steam give you awareness around your launch date. And then Steam also say that you should submit your build for approval within 2 to 3 days of release, or if you want to be sort of careful, then 5 days ahead of release, if you need to sort of do some rounds of feedback. So we submitted our build for approval 20 or more days ahead of release. So we had like 4 times the worst case. Again, being careful what I say. Essentially, we got sort of like I'm being very careful here. We didn't hear we didn't get a lot of feedback, and I had to like work on personal connections at Steam and Valve to sort of like try to get people around and to get some answers to find out what's going on. Like, we need to launch. We eventually heard back that they had concerns around so not the game was fine, like no problem with the game build, but they had some concerns around blockchain, which people can probably guess based on Steam's stance with that. So they had some concerns around things that you couldn't do in 22, but they thought that you might be able to do. And so the interesting thing there was we kept Pavilion. So Pavilion was built as the ecosystem for 22, but we kept them separate so that 22 could live on different platforms, and then for blockchain features it goes on to Pavilion, and then other games can do the same thing. So once that was clear to Steam and we made all of that very clear that these two things are separate, they were happy and we launched. So that was that. So in terms of Wonderman Nation and other games on Pavilion, we've proven that now you can have a game that can work with blockchain integration on Pavilion and on other platforms, and they can also work on Steam without the blockchain integration, or like even different versions of the blockchain integration. Yeah. I mean, maybe one thing I can say, because this will be something that we'll have to announce at some point, is Steam have a rule that if any NFT is used in 22 outside of Steam, then that's fine. We can do what we like with it. But if that NFT gets, or if a user wants to use that NFT in 22 on Steam, then it must stop existing on the blockchain as an asset, and it must come into Steam and then it must never leave Steam again. So it's like a one-way street to Steam. So we'll have a feature that. So right now we've just kind of like put a wall there, but eventually we'll make a thing where you can send an item to Steam with a big warning like you want like this cannot be sort of used in Pavilion or anywhere else. Once it goes there, like that's one way.
A red exclamation point.
Yeah.
Right into your face.
Yeah, exactly. So please don't come back to us and ask me why I can't once it's gone there. So we've addressed all those features. That's cool. So Wonderman Nation could use those as well. I guess if we're going to just say about 22 Racing Series as well. So we've launched on Steam now. We've got a roadmap which people would see if they go onto our website. The 22 Racing Series website has a roadmap in the menu, so you can go to that. We have our roadmap in Steam as well. So that roadmap is basically like it's our schedules. That's what we're working on. So again, our track builder is really, really awesome. Our programmer is still working on that. So we're going to have that released. It's released now. We're going to have that finished with new track profiles and other things over the next couple of months. We've got some more multiplayer updates coming through over the next month or two. And then we'll be launching. So once we've got those two things in there, we'll be launching more tournaments, etc.
Thank you. So we're live on Steam. You can go play it right now. And we have two questions.
Sorry. I'll clarify something. Some people think that latest update is just on Steam, but it's also on Pavilion. So if you want to play that update that's on Steam, it's on Pavilion as well. So you don't have to go to Steam to play that. You can play it on your Steam version as well.
Oh, okay.
Live on both.
We have two questions that are pretty much the same. So Crypto Positive asked us, is Wonderman coming one day to Steam as well? And Naruto Trainer asked us, will Wonderman market to non-crypto users who are just gamers? Short answer? Yes.
Short answer. I'm going to give you a long one. No, I mean, so short answer is that is our intention. Okay, the two questions. Last question first. Will we target non-crypto gamers? Absolutely. Because we always want. We don't want the crypto to be first and foremost and forefront in the sales. Like, play our game, and then you play our game and have fun, and you can also sell your in-game assets. Like, we don't have to even talk about crypto and blockchain. Ideally, it's just a function. In terms of other platforms, we've spoken with other platforms outside of Steam as well, like mobile platforms, like the biggest mobile platforms in the world. We've spoken to them, and they're keen to have these kinds of games on their platform too. So, yeah.
Right, guys. So we're pretty much at the end of our live session here. If there are any other questions, please feel free to ask us. We have around 4 minutes left.
There's one about funds. Do we have enough funds to last?
Oh yeah, it just appeared.
Yep.
So do we have enough funds to last?
Short answer, yes. So again, maybe I'll give like a longer form answer so people have some context here. Goaty's group, we started in the last financial crisis in the GFC 2008. So we were born out of that. So we're very good at being smart and considered with all of the money that we spend. For example, the ambassador program. It wasn't smart use of our funds at that point. So we made sure we've got a budget that lasts so we can get the game done and then beyond. So that's what we do. We've been around for over a decade.
I think that speaks for everything. The fact that you have so much experience into the gaming development. I think we shouldn't be worried about anything that is going to come. We're all set. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for being here with us. Garth, don't worry about the long answers, mate. I mean, I love them. I'm sure the community love all of the updates that you are providing. I hope you liked the fact that we did the live AMA, and we choose to do that. I mean, it was really fun for us as well, also preparing and having you here.
Yep, I totally agree. I gotta say, like, a thought occurred to me that I can't point to your health bar, but like, I wanted our next health, like our next AMA, like our health to like go up and down depending on like what's going on. So let's see if I can work something out for that.
And I wanted to ask the community, guys, did you see that we have two beautiful banners, roll-up banners,
How cool
right next to us?
Maybe let's do a quick vote if anyone's still watching. Like, which banner is best? Huh? Which banner is best? We can let people talk about that later.
Okay, maybe they can answer this.
Yeah, because I'm jealous of your banner with like the space rabbit in the window.
He's looking really mean.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, maybe we can do a poll on the Telegram community chat to see
whose banner is
what
best.
likes it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Garth, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Also, I want to thank all the members of the community who joined us. I'm pretty sure that we're going to do this sooner than you think. Maybe when we will have the next major update, and we can. But in the meantime,
I think just ahead of the creature sale would be the perfect next one if that happens around when I was saying. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that should be good. Until then, have a great holiday. Enjoy your Christmas, snow, or sunny days based on your location. And yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to share it on the Telegram group. I'll try to address them. And of course, I will share them with Garth as well.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in.
Cheers.
Cheers.